How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's get right into this review and see what I saw. So last week I had the chance of checking out an awesome new movie in theaters that I think was absolutely hilarious, fun, entertaining, family-friendly, and just a great new sequel. Now, this new great sequel, I feel, was really highly rated. I think that it was exactly what we were looking for from a second film in this type of series, and I just thought it was very entertaining and enjoyable. Now, the movie I'm talking about happens to be an awesome film called Goosebumps 2: A Haunted Halloween. Oh yeah, Goosebumps, Goosebumps, Goosebumps. Yeah, so Goosebumps is based on, of course, the R.L. Stine books that came out during the 90s, through the late 90s, to even the early 2000s. Now, this is a sequel to the original one that came out in 2015 that basically the main star was Mr. Jack Black playing R.L. Stine. Now, this second one is supposed to take place in a whole different town and take place with a totally different novel, but still involving Slappy, the ventriloquist dummy that we recognize from the first film, and from a lot of R.L. Stine's books like Non-Living Dummies and so forth. Now, this awesome film happens to be directed by kind of a newcomer director. He's directed a few other films. Not a huge success yet, but he really has talent, and I feel he has an eye for being a decent director. And, of course, that director happens to be Mr. Ari Sandell. Now, Ari Sandell, you might recognize, like I said, not hugely a lot. He's done a few short films. He's done some feature-length films. He has a new film that's going to be based on a cartoon series coming out soon, eventually. But this is really kind of like his second other to big feature film, or maybe even his third feature film, if I remember correctly. Now, one of the films that he directed that I know, and I absolutely love the film, I thought it was a fantastic film, stars the great Mae Whitman, and you might recognize this film called The Duff. Now, The Duff is just a really awesome, fun, kind of like romantic comedy, teen bopper film that just is fun, hilarious, and just awesome. Kind of along the lines of Mean Girls, Confessions of the Teenage Drama Queen, films like that, Sleepover, etc., like that. But basically what the premise of that film is that Mae Whitman's character is considered this character called the Duff, which is basically a dull friend, or basically, you know, an acronym, basically kind of like, you know, they have the term MILF, or they have the term DILF, or they have, you know, terms like that. And it's the same kind of feeling, and she's basically considered the heavier set friend of the group, basically, or the ugly duckling friend, or whatever, something similar to that, basically, and that, you know, she's considered that person, and the movie's about her trying to prove that she's not, and that she's just as popular as the pretty girls, and so forth. It's just a really fun film, and I thought Ari did a really awesome job with that film. I thought he was just fantastic, he was fun, did a really good job with it, made a really kind of awesome teen family kind of comedy. It was really entertaining, really just interesting too, I thought. I thought everyone involved was really fun, and I just thought it was a fun and entertaining film. Something I definitely want to add to my collection eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it. But definitely a great film. Very fun and very entertaining. Another film that Ari did and directed was a film that was released on Netflix earlier this year that stars Adam Devine and Alexandria Daddario. And of course, that is the film When We First Met. I haven't had a chance to check this film out, but I've heard that it's pretty funny and fun, that Adam Devine is awesome in it, and just it's a really well-directed film. And that, you know, Ari did a really good job of making a really good kind of like romantic comedy film that just was very entertaining, very fun, and just, you know, awesome. From the trailer I've seen and what I've heard from people, it sounds like a really interesting and fun flick. And also at the same time, it looks like it's got a good casting, like it's got really good actors and actresses involved with it. And of course, Adam Devine, you can't go wrong. He's absolutely freaking hilarious. And I loved him in The Pitch Perfects, and I thought he was so fantastic in Final Girls, and I thought he was so awesome in Workaholics. I just think he's a great all-around comedian. And I'm sure he'll bring a great, you know, film, comedian type of talent to that film, and I'm actually looking forward to checking that out eventually. It should be interesting and fun. It'll be definitely interesting to see. But with Goosebumps 2, I thought Ari did a really decent job. I think that he didn't do as good as Rob Letterman did on the first one, but I do feel that he was up to par with Rob Letterman and really brought a great sequel to this awesome, film series and gave us a really fun and entertaining film. And I just thought that he had a really great eye for what Goosebumps represents. Because this one I felt had a lot more of the feel of Goosebumps. A lot more of that, look in the monsters. And I love how they brought different characters from the other Goosebumps books into the film and stuff like that. I thought they did a really good job with that. And I thought Ari did a really good job of directing that, bringing that vision to life, and giving us a really fun and entertaining film. Now, this film has a pretty decent cast. It has some great comedians. It has some new and upcoming actors in it and actresses. Now, one of the actresses happens to be Madison Iseman, who you might recognize from Jumanji, Welcome Back to Jungle, as Bethany Walker in the film, the blonde girl that is played by Jack Black in the game. And she actually plays kind of one of the main characters in the film. And I thought she was okay and not too bad in this film. I thought it was nice to see in her different role, but kind of similar to her character in Jumanji. And I just thought she was an interesting and, fun, definitely a fun character in the film, along with the two other boys that played characters in the film with her that were kind of the main characters in the film. But at the same time, you got these bigger names, and they were definitely, I feel that their parts were a lot more outspoken than the kids involved in the film. Now, one of the other kids in the film is actually the kid that played Ben Hanscom in the It film remake that came out last year. And he actually is going to have flashback scenes that he's filming in It Chapter 2 as well. But to get into the awesome real actors of this film, we have none other than the awesome lady herself from Reno 911, from the Goldbergs, who plays Beverly Goldberg, Miss Wendy McLovin Clovey. Now, you might recognize, like I said, Wendy from the Goldbergs, Reno 911, and so forth. But a couple films I really enjoyed her and thought she was fantastic in were none other than the awesome sequel to an awesome, based on Steve Harvey book, film called Think Like a Man 2. Now, Think Like a Man 2 is an awesome sequel to the first Think Like a Man that just has an awesome cast. Now, in Think Like a Man 2, Wendy McLovin plays the wife of one of the main characters in the film. And she's kind of like an outsider because she really hasn't done anything with the ladies before. And she's kind of like a stay-at-home mom character. And she's just really funny and so different than her character of Beverly or the gal that she played in Reno 911. And she's just like so funny in how she reacts. And like they give her a makeover, make her look glamorous. And just like how she reacts and stuff and how funny she is in the film. She just was really fantastic and one of my favorite roles of her. Because I just think she brought a great just comedy game to the role. And she works so well with everyone in the film. Just made a really funny and awesome character and portrayal in this film. Now, the other awesome film that she was in that I really enjoyed her in and thought she was just fun and fantastic and just silly and hilarious in is the film Bridesmaid. Oh, yeah. So if you're not familiar with Bridesmaid, basically it's a awesome film directed by Paul Feig that has a huge ensemble cast. You got Melissa McCartney, you got Maya Rudolph, you got Ellie Kemper, you have, the awesome John Hamm in it, and so forth. And just a really funny, awesome film. And Wendy McLovin plays one of the main characters in the film that's part of the bride's party, and is just super freaking hilarious when she's talking and like telling stories to Ellie Kemper's character, and just like how she has to deal with her kids at home and how they're like so disrespectful and evil to her, and like she's basically like going insane from it, and like her husband just won't leave her alone and won't stop wanting to have sex with her and all this kind of stuff. It was just an absolutely hilarious role. She did such an amazing job. Great acting by her, great comedic talent, and just brought it again to this film. I mean, another great performance by her, and just so fun and hilarious. And just, she is so good at timing her comedic parts and stuff. She's just so freaking hilarious and funny. But when it comes to in Goosebumps 2, I loved her as the mom. I love that she brought that kind of Beverly feel to it a little bit. At the same time, she played like this worried mother, but at the same time, like, you gotta do things because I have to do things because I can't be here all the time, you know, and just like how she reacted in the film was like so freaking funny. And just, she was a great pleasure. It was great to see her in that type of role again. And to give like kind of like a little bit of a different role than Beverly is, and a little different than all her other roles. And it was just fun to see her as a mom in this film, and kind of like a great addition. Kind of like how you had what's her name from Workaholics in the first film, kind of being the love interest of Jack Black in the film. I think she was absolutely hilarious. That's how Wendy McLovin kind of feels for me in this film, and just how awesome she was at it, and so funny. Great pleasure to see her. Definitely worth watching if you love Wendy McLovin. Another great actor that we have in this film is none other than another awesome comedian that I absolutely think is just amazing, funny. Everything he does is hilarious. He always brings great timing. He's a great stand-up comedian, and he's an ex-doctor, too, at the same time. That, of course, is Mr. Ken Jeong. Now, Ken Jeong you might recognize from, of course, a slew of different films, different movies. You might recognize from a show that he had, Dr. Ken. You might recognize him from playing several different characters. But a couple of films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in were none other than the awesome original film of this awesome trilogy. And that, of course, is the film The Hangover, where he plays, Mr. Chen. And oh my god, he is so freaking hilarious as this character. Leslie Chow. Just, oh my gosh, Mr. Chow. He's absolutely freaking hilarious. That voice, the pinpoint precision of the character was absolutely perfection. He just was so freaking hilarious in that, and just showed how good of a comedic, timing he has, and how funny he really is. And just how he's just, like, hilarious. Absolutely loved that character of Leslie Chow in all three films. And he really brought out how good of a comedian he is in that film. Now, the other film I loved him in is a movie that got really horrible ratings and so forth when it first came out. It was considered a flop. It was considered just a horrible film. I think the movie's absolutely funny as hell, and I don't think Ken gets enough credit for how funny his role was in this film. And that, of course, is the film from 2009 called All About Steve. Now, All About Steve, if you remember this horrible film, it's basically a Sandra Bullock film with Bradley Cooper, Thomas Hayden Church, Ken Jeong, and so forth. And basically, she plays kind of like a crazy lady that is trying to make a relationship with Bradley Cooper, who doesn't want to have a relationship with her. And Ken Jeong plays one of the guys he works with as a camera guy. And Ken Jeong's character is absolutely freaking hilarious. He comes up with some of the greatest one-liners in the film, and he was such an awesome pleasure to see in the film, and I think that he should get so much more credit for this film. He just was so freaking funny, and just a pleasure to watch. It was hilarious, and just had a lot of great chemistry in the film, and just worked so well with Thomas and Bradley, and just they made such a great, like, kind of dynamic trio, and were so freaking hilarious together. Really great pleasure to see him in that film, and I think he should get more credit for how good he was in that film, even though it was considered such a flop. But when it comes to in Goosebumps 2, oh my god, me and my girlfriend were laughing so hard the whole time watching the film, every time he came in, because he kind of gave that, a little bit of that Leslie Chow type of, like, acting and ability, and was just like, okay, ladies, stuff like that. And oh my god, it was so stinking funny. And he was just a great addition to that film, giving it some great, like, funny comedy element to it, and some great vibes, and just was a great, acting choice for the role. And being that next door neighbor and stuff, he was, like, perfect for that role. And he just brought it. He brought such a great performance to that character, and he was probably one of the best reasons to see that movie. 100%. He's one of the reasons why I'm going to buy the movie, because it was so freaking awesome in the film. Really well worth watching this film just for Ken Jeong's performance in the film, too, as well. Check it out, people. It's worth the watch just for Ken. Now, another great comedian actor that's in this film that I was kind of shocked, didn't realize he was going to be in the film, and I think he was a great addition, too. I really liked his performance in that. And, of course, it's an SNL alumni, Mr. Chris Parnell. Now, Chris Parnell, you might recognize, like I said, from SNL. You might recognize him as one of the store clerks in Jingle All the Way. You might recognize him from a slew of films that he's done, bit parts and so forth, Sisters, and etc., etc. But a couple films I really enjoyed him in and thought he was fantastic in were none other than an awesome film from 2007 starring the awesome Andy Samberg. And that, of course, is the film Hot Rod. I absolutely loved him as the disc jockey DJ guy in the film towards the end of the film, and he just was fun and entertaining in it. He was super hilarious and fun. He just did a really amazing job with the role and gave us a really funny character, very similar to a lot of his characters on SNL too. And I just think he was super fun, and I just really liked his character. I really enjoyed him in it. I thought he was a great addition to that film. Now, the other film that I saw him in I thought he was fantastic in was another awesome comedy film that came out in 2004, and he reprised his role in the sequel that came out almost 10 years later. And that, of course, is the film Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Oh yeah, Burgundy, Ron, woohoo! Anywho's, he plays one of the a main character in the film that works at the news studio with Ron and the rest of the cast and crew. And I absolutely loved his character in the film. I thought he was just really fun. I thought he was a great addition. He brought a lot of great sass to the role, and he had some really great one-liners when he's talking with Will Ferrell and so forth. And just like some of his lines, you're just kind of like, what was he thinking when he said that? And at the same time, you're just kind of like, this guy is hilarious, and he was just like a great character in the film. And I just thought he did a really fun job, really entertaining, really well scripted, really well acted, and just a great performance by him. When it comes to Goosebumps 2, like I said, I really enjoyed his character in the film. I love that he kind of played the love interest of Wendy McLovin, and like how he just kind of, made such a funny impression, just like how kind of like geeky he played the role. And just like how he portrayed the character. And just like, even though it wasn't a huge role at first, it kind of grew as a bigger role when he gets turned into a creature in the movie. And you're just kind of like, what? You're like, nah. And he's like, oh yeah, stuff like that, and acting like this new creature and stuff. And it was absolutely hilarious. And just lots of great kind of like dumb humor brought to it. And he just was fun. He was entertaining, and he just made a great impression on me in this film. Really enjoyed him. Really thought he was fantastic, and he was a great addition to this film. So to round out this cast, we have none other than a guy from the original film, or from the first film, I should say, coming back, even though it wasn't the hugest part in the film, but still was a good amount, and it was nice to see him in this one too as well. And that, of course, is Mr. Jack Black. Now, Jack Black, you might recognize from Tenacious D, School of Rock. You might recognize him from Orange County, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Bernie, The D Train. You might recognize him from so many movies. But a couple of films I really enjoyed him in and thought he was fantastic in were none other than the awesome Ben Stiller directed film starring Robert Downey Jr. and Ben Stiller himself. And that, of course, is the 2008 film Tropic Thunder. Oh my god, but Jack Black was so freaking hilarious in that film. I absolutely loved his character, how crazy he was, how he was like coked out and just really retarded kind of throughout the film. And just like how he portrayed kind of like this, mentally disturbed person, but at the same time like he's an actor and he's a method actor. And just, it was so stinking funny how he played the character. He was absolutely hilarious. I absolutely loved this character. And just like how he interacted with everyone in the film and how he acted like on the sets of his supposed movies he does in the movie were just absolutely hilarious and fun. Definitely a great film. Excellent role by Jack, and just a great pleasure to see him in. Now, another great film he was in, and I think is one of the Farrelly brothers' best films, and just a fun film, and I feel that this film really gives great ideas to what reality is, and how, we might not see something as attractive and pretty, but as long as somebody else does, that's what matters. And that's what this film brought. And that, of course, is the film Shallow Hal. This awesome film, I absolutely love this film. Great heart to it, just like all the Farrelly Brother films, from Something About Mary to Dumb and Dumbers to Stuck on You to, all those types of films that they've directed. And this film just, I think, was the bee's knees for making that type of thing. And I just think it was really well done. Jack was so amazing in the film. I love this character. I love his interaction with Gwyneth Paltrow when she's not in the fat suit and when she's in the fat suit. And just his characterization and how he reacts and his interaction with, Tony Robbins and his actions with Jason Alexander and so forth. He just was so freaking hilarious in that film. And I absolutely loved the character. And it makes me think of myself sometimes, just like how I perceive things. And I just love that movie. That movie's so fantastic. I think it's one of Jack's best films and really shows how good of a, actor and comedian he is. And just, he's a really fun and awesome person too as well. Really well done and really enjoyed him in that film. Now, it comes to a small part in Goosebumps 2. Like I said, it was great to see him in the film. He brought that, once again, that great funniness to the R.L. Stine character. He was perfect. He was pitch perfect. He was Jack Black. He was amazing. Definitely worth watching for him, too, as well. He was so good in it for the brief parts he was in. And he brought that, once again, just that great humor that was in the first film that kind of helps, finish the film off on a high note, I feel. I think it really did. And I thought it was really well done and worked really well. Now, if you're not familiar with what Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween is about, basically, this one takes place in another town in New York versus where they were in Delaware in the first one. And this time, a couple kids come across a book in this secret passage, and it happens to be one of R.L. Stine's unfinished scripts. Well, unfortunately, they open it, and Slappy comes out, who is a part of that book, and he basically wants to make the world his family. And basically, the rest of the movie is about them trying to get all the characters back in the book and how to save the world, basically. Great film, really fun and interesting, really entertaining. It was so amazing, people. Definitely you should check it out. Worth the watch, people. So much fun on the big screen. Just a really fun and pleasurable, entertaining family film, especially for the month of October, Halloween time. It was just a great addition, and very, very glad to see a sequel to the Goosebumps series, because the Goosebumps were such a big part of my childhood. I had a lot of the books growing up, and I just think it was a great, awesome series, and lots of greatness to it. Definitely something, to check out, people. Go see it in theaters now. Check it out when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, 4K, and definitely it's worth a watch, people. Giant 10 golden movie boxes up on this one. Really entertaining and fun, and just a real gem, a real good film, and a great addition to the other already out Goosebumps film. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thanks for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. If it's your first time here, if you've been here before and you haven't hit that subscribe button, what are you waiting for, people? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video or any of the awesome videos I put up. And as always, keep your eyes out for any older, newer videos you might not have seen mine yet. And as always, people, check out the awesome Stardust app, where you can watch 3 to 30-second little mini reviews of trailers, TV shows, TV episodes, movies, documentaries, anything your heart desires. And also, this awesome app always has cool polls going, suggestions, contests, and so forth. So if that's something that interests you, download it from your respective Play Store. Go ahead and look me up under Cyberneticshark, follow me, and I'll follow you back. And as always, people, catch you in the next one.